We talk about heroes in Harry Potter, Harry, Dumbledore, even Snape. But the first generation of heroes, the ones who truly faced Voldemort, they were teenagers fueled by a potent mix of absolute loyalty and unresolved arrogance. We are talking about James Potter and Sirius Black. They were reckless, rule-breaking, and at times outright bullies, yet they defined the purest form of resistance. How do we reconcile the two? How did their youthful arrogance transform into the ultimate self-sacrifice? The answer lies in the deeply intertwined ideologies they forged together. Over the next 25 minutes, we will dissect the 4 pillars of the Marauders' ideology: the right to rebel, the purity paradox, the morality of the means, and the price of loyalty. Hit the subscribe button because we need to understand the fathers to understand the son.
The foundation of the Marauders' ideology was rebellion. This wasn't just typical teenage angst, it was a philosophical rejection of their surroundings, particularly for Sirius Black. Sirius Black, the rejection of heritage. Sirius came from the ancient and noble house of Black, a lineage defined by fanatic pureblood supremacy and allegiance to the dark arts. When Sirius was sorted into Gryffindor, it was not an accident. It was an ideological declaration of war against his own family and tradition. His rejection of the pureblood mantra, which formed the core of Voldemort's platform, is the single most defining characteristic of his entire life. Everything he did, the leather jackets, the muggle posters, the rule-breaking, was a political statement. He was actively creating a new, self-defined identity based on loyalty and bravery, not blood status.
James Potter, the confidence of privilege. James's rebellion was subtler. He didn't have to reject a toxic family. He rejected the complacency that came with his wealth and popularity. His parents were older, doting, and allowed him immense freedom. This bred a sense of unquestioned superiority, the belief that he and his friends were always right, and that rules were meant for lesser people. This confidence was crucial. It gave them the audacity to become illegal animagi just to support their friend Remus Lupin. This wasn't just kindness, it was a belief that their loyalty to a person superseded the law of the land. This establishes the core ethical conflict of the Marauders.
The animagus analogy. Their animagus transformations perfectly symbolize their ideological roles. James, stag, noble, protective, but also an alpha animal, the natural leader, dominant and bold. Sirius, dog, fiercely loyal, protective, but also constantly yearning for freedom and action, the embodiment of unconditional, slightly reckless friendship. Their rebellion was the crucible where their lifelong principles were forged.
This is the most challenging aspect of their legacy. While they fought against the greatest pureblood extremist of all time, they exhibited their own form of moral elitism. The target, Severus Snape. The bullying as an ideological flaw. James and Sirius weren't just picking fights, they were asserting dominance. They saw Snape as weak, strange, and already tainted by the dark arts and his association with Slytherin ideology. Their actions weren't about blood status, they were about social status and judgment. They applied the very prejudice they despised, the idea that certain people are inherently less worthy, but based it on personality and social grouping rather than bloodline. The fundamental ideological problem is this: you cannot fight tyranny while practicing petty tyranny yourself. Their sense of being the good guys excused their cruelty. The Lily Evans factor. Lily Evans serves as the ultimate moral anchor, challenging their flawed ideology. Lily, a Muggle-born, understood true oppression and virtue. She was drawn to James's good heart and charisma, but repulsed by his arrogance and cruelty towards Snape. Her repeated refusal to date James until he matured is proof that their ideology needed refinement. It took external moral pressure from Lily to force James to recognize that his means of asserting justice were corrupted by his privilege.
The Snape question. Did they bully Snape because they sensed his future turn to the dark arts? The book suggests no, they bullied him because they could. This paradox, fighting for universal liberty while denying basic dignity to an individual, is the moral fault line that forever complicates the Marauders' story.
Once they left school, the focus of their ideology shifted from youthful rebellion to unconditional loyalty in the face of mortal peril. This is where their recklessness became true bravery. Joining the Order. Unlike many purebloods who simply hid or joined Voldemort, James and Sirius immediately joined the Order of the Phoenix. This was a direct act of choice rooted in their ideological foundation. You fight for your family, and your family includes anyone being oppressed. Their financial support, James' fortune, and their magical skill became fully dedicated to the anti-Voldemort cause. They put themselves directly on the front line, becoming targets 3 times over, as members of the Order, as purebloods who rejected the cause, and as parents of the prophesied child.
Their loyalty ultimately destroyed them. When facing the threat of being targeted, they chose a secret keeper. Sirius, in a move that seems both brilliant and tragically reckless, chose Peter Pettigrew, the weakest, most non-ideological member of their group. The psychological reasoning, Sirius was so confident in his own strength and loyalty, and so aware that James and Lily would never suspect their strongest friend, that he used Pettigrew as a sacrificial pawn for misdirection. This was a classic ideological mistake, overestimating loyalty, underestimating fear. Sirius's subsequent 17 years of imprisonment were a direct result of his overly zealous adherence to the ideal of unbreakable loyalty. His ideology was so fixed that he couldn't comprehend Peter's fundamental cowardice.
Sirius's Azkaban resilience for a reason beyond his animagus ability. He survived because his core ideology, his unwavering belief in James's innocence and Pettigrew's guilt, provided him with the moral clarity needed to resist the Dementors. His intense focus on justice for his best friend became his only source of happiness and mental resistance.
When Sirius returns in Prisoner of Azkaban, his ideology hasn't changed, but his application of it has become desperately flawed. The prisoner's mentality. Sirius still holds the core marauder principles: loyalty, rebellion, and a hatred for authority. But Azkaban has made him reckless, desperate, and incapable of functioning within the rules of the adult world. He wants to fight. He wants action. He despises being locked away in Grimmauld Place, which he sees as another form of imprisonment, another denial of his right to rebel. His attempts to live vicariously through Harry are another ideological flaw. He projects James's image onto Harry, failing to recognize that Harry needs a father figure, not a partner in crime. The ideological gift to Harry. Despite his flaws, James and Sirius bequeath a crucial ideological framework to Harry. Question authority. Harry's constant distrust of the Ministry stems directly from the Marauders' rebellion against an unjust system. Loyalty above all. Harry's willingness to risk everything for Ron and Hermione is the pure legacy of the Marauders' bond. Blood doesn't matter. Their acceptance of Muggleborn and Half-Bloods became the moral standard for Harry's generation.
The final act of loyalty. Sirius's death at the Ministry of Magic is not a glorious battlefield sacrifice like James's. It's a tragic, reckless end caused by his inability to temper his youthful, rebellious energy with adult caution. He dies trying to defend Harry, proving his loyalty was never in doubt, but highlighting that his right to rebel ideology ultimately cost him his life.
The story of James Potter and Sirius Black is the story of 2 boys who, through an intensely loyal friendship, formed a powerful yet imperfect revolutionary ideology. They taught us that heroes can be flawed, that the path to saving the world may involve moments of arrogance and cruelty, but ultimately, what matters is the final unflinching commitment to protect the innocent and defy tyranny. Their legacy is not just the map they left behind, but the profound, unwavering ideological belief that friendship is the greatest magic, a magic strong enough to defeat the Dark Lord, even if it couldn't save them from themselves.
Do you think James's bullying was unforgivable, or was it merely youthful arrogance?